Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We are on a mission to help companies everywhere grow anywhere they wish to go. And part of that is we're setting up chapters all over the world in every city. And the idea being, as we continue to grow, having a person that we know and trust, who's professional and honest and ethical and well-connected in every city of the world, that's a world of business that we want to live in. And to emphasize the point of our community around the world, we've started every 2 weeks doing an event called Doing Business In. And we cover 5 metro areas each time. Yesterday, we did South Korea. There's actually 17 metropolitan areas in South Korea with 50 million population. We focused in primarily around 7 or 8 metros. So we kind of stretched the idea of 5 metros and covered the entire country. We decided to do the same thing with Kenya. And so the key there is, who in the world would know Kenya inside and out, know how to do business there? And I can't think of anybody better than Gaitha, who is our speaker today. She knows Kenya. She knows Africa. She's well connected. She's really smart. She's getting it done every day. Her group called Regal Africa group just did an event where they covered all the aspects of not just Kenya, but business in Africa. So Anne, we're really appreciative of you taking the time today to share with us your thoughts on the hot opportunities, the things about doing business in Kenya. And then, after your presentation, we're going to open up the floor for the visitors who are coming in today to provide their thoughts, their questions, and other ideas, so that at the end of the hour, we'll have Anne's information, we'll have a Q&A session, and we'll have the information out on the floor of whether it's in Nairobi, whether it's in Mombasa, whether it's in other parts of Kenya. How do you do business there? What should some of the opportunities in our mind be for doing business in Kenya? And Anne, really, again, appreciate your speaking today. And I also want to emphasize your leadership on the Global Chamber Nairobi Advisory Board. We really appreciate that as well. So without further ado, please, let's begin the conversation.
All right. Thank you, Doug, very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on something I'm very passionate about, which is trade, investments, and tourism in Africa. I keep telling everybody, you need to come to Kenya, or to Africa. I'm based out of Nairobi in Kenya, and definitely there's a lot of opportunities. So I will take the time to just do a short presentation and then go into Q&A as I answer any questions that you may have. Because like I said, I am based out of Nairobi, but I look at mostly the East Africa community and the bigger Pan-African community, and there's a lot of opportunity for the world to participate in trade and investments. So I'll go ahead and just share my screen so that I can be able to do my presentation and then answer any questions that you may all have. Okay, so I am hoping that you can all see my screen.
We can.
You can? Okay,
yes,
great. So like I said, I'll be talking about something very passionate about, doing business in Kenya. I'm an international trade and investment expert. And as Doug mentioned, I'm also part of I'm part of Global Chamber here in Nairobi as a board advisor. And I run a company called Regal Africa, where basically what we do at Regal Africa is help our clients create wealth and basically position ourselves as the bridge between the world and Africa. And we advise all our clients around trade, investment, and tourism opportunities in Africa. And because I'm in Kenya, I keep saying Kenya is the gateway into Africa. A lot of people know about Kenya around tea, as you can see in that picture. But really, the beauty about Kenya is the diverse economy that we have. There's so much more opportunity than tea. And so if you're in business, I keep telling people that Africa is calling. You have a way of participating in business in this continent, be it importing or exporting out of the continent, investing on the continent. There's a lot of opportunity, and that's what I will be discussing today. So just to give you a business overview around Kenya, Kenya has a market of over 50 million people. We are part of the East African community, which has a population of about 180 million. And we're very excited. There'll be an entrance of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is DRC, which means if that all goes through in the next month or so, we'll have a total of 280 million people, right? Which is, I mean, the US is about 350 million people. So you can see there's a lot that is going to happen if you're doing business in Kenya. And really the great thing about Kenya being part of the East African community and everything is because you're part of a well-organized region in Africa. And then you've also access to the continent, which has approximately about 1.3 billion Africans. So the opportunity is enormous because Kenya is considered the economic, commercial, financial, and logistic hub of East and also Central Africa, right? I mentioned earlier, Kenya is a very diverse, which means it's not reliant on only one type of industry. In fact, we are not really mineral rich, although we have minerals, but the great thing is that it is a blessing. I always tell people it's a blessing because of the diversification. We're able to weather any storm in any economic season. That is why you need to be looking at Kenya as a place you want to do business. So Kenya is really well known for agriculture. Agriculture is the main bread butter of this economy, be it food crops. So you're talking about, food for the cash crops, coffee, tea, flowers, there's fishing, there's livestock, be it for dairy or for beef. So there's all this in the agriculture space. And I'll give you more information when we talk about the hot opportunities to do business in Kenya. But you also want to think about tourism. So whenever people think about Kenya and tourism, they think about safari, the Masai Mara. So leisure tourism is big, ecotourism is big, and more because Kenya is, like I said, de facto business capital of East and Central Africa. We have seen more and more business tourism happening. There's a lot of manufacturing happening, especially around textile and apparel. We'll talk more about that. Mining, there's titanium, gold, rare earth minerals, financial services is really big, commercial banking, insurance, fintech. And when we look at it, Kenya is really well known for professional services because we have a very well-educated populace. So legal advice, accounting, management, you see a lot of that happening whereby Kenya is able to engage with the rest of the world. But when you look at Kenya in totality, we're a net importer. So, but the government is really putting more and more efforts around exporting of our goods and services to the rest of Africa and the world. And so if you're looking to do business in Kenya, you want to pay attention to that. Yes, you can import things to the country, but also there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of incentives to export things to the rest of the world, be it to the East African community or is it to COMESA? So you're looking at East and Southern Africa, you're looking at Africa in total. And also Kenya has been doing really great things in trade because we've been really negotiating, our government has been negotiating bilateral and multilateral agreements. For example, Doug, I don't know if you know people here who are in the US, Kenya has been on the front line talking about Kenya-US trade agreements because we know AGOA is ending in 2025 and we don't know it's going to be renewed. So basically what I'm trying to say, Kenyan government and the private sector understand trade is very important. So when you're looking to do trade, doing business in Kenya, you want to understand that you're coming in an environment that is welcoming more trade and investment with Africa and with the world.
That's good.
Another.
Could I just interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
I just have a quick question. We still see that your title slide, and that may be your intent, but are you actually changing slides and we're missing that, or are you still on your title slide?
Yes, I'm changing slides, so you can't see it. Let me stop and share it again.
Okay.
Let me, because I think that must be like that slide. Okay, let me.
I was a little about that, so I wanted to make.
Okay, so I hope it works right now. So I'll say current slide. Can you see the slide that talks about Kenya is well known for? Can you see that?
Yes, that's now. Yep.
Okay. So we did the business overview, Kenya is well known for, and I really wanted to talk about the digital economy, because I mean, it's about the opportunities and why you should do business in Kenya. So really, Kenya is growing into a digital economy, and this can be seen both in the private sector and in the public sector. So everyone in Kenya is very aware that technology is very, very important, and we're digitizing how we access goods and services. For example, we have what we call e-citizen, which is how you access government services. Mobile money, we're very big on mobile money. And so everyone around the world probably has heard about M-Pesa, which has ensured there's a lot of financial inclusion, which means people can do business locally and outside the country digitally. So this is something very important that you want to be aware of, because the fact that Kenya and the Kenyan population has access to internet, they are highly educated, technology-enabled population, you continue seeing the digital trade of goods and services. And we have both local and international people who are coming in, who are setting up shop, e-commerce platforms like M-Soko, Anzili, Jumia, Sky Garden. Kenyan Booking is very focused on tourism. And then there's something that we're doing in Regal Africa, which is called Global Office. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we're able to assign a bookkeeper, an accountant to do your books at a very affordable rate. So really, the digitization of the Kenyan economy is a great opportunity that you will continue to see. And then we're going to see the rise of the smart cities. So we have something called Konza Technopolis, which is something the government has been really working on. Smart cities are the future. So if you're looking to do business in Kenya, you need to be aware that things are moving from the old way of doing business, the manual way of doing business. Technology is front and center of where we're going in the future when we think about business. I also want to spend some time here around doing business in Kenya. Of course, when people think about doing business in Kenya, they think about Nairobi, where I'm located, because of course it's the financial capital of Kenya, and also the big, financial capital in East and Central Africa. We are gearing to be an international financial center. So Nairobi is where business happens, right? Nairobi is where business happens. But besides Nairobi, I wanted to highlight all the other 4 different areas or economic hubs you want to think about. The other one you really need to think about is the coast. So in Kenya, we are by the Indian Ocean. So again, the main town there where you see a lot of business happening is Mombasa. So the opportunity around that is basically the blue economy. You see an opportunity around maritime transportation. You see opportunity around tourism. You see opportunity around fishery. You see opportunity around things like, jewelry, pearls, seashells, where people do handicraft. So there's a lot of opportunity around the blue economy. So if you want to do business, you want to be aware about that. You also have to be aware that when you look at the coast, there is Mombasa, there's also Lamu, which are ports which enable people who are trying to do trade also in Africa to use that as a transshipment way. So for example, if you're trying to go into Rwanda or Uganda, which are landlocked countries, or Burundi, you're able to go through Mombasa. If you're trying to go to South Sudan, we're trying to have what is called the LAPSET project that connects Lamu or the Kenyan coast to Ethiopia and South Sudan. So those are the opportunities we continue seeing if you're going to do business in the coast. The main difference between Nairobi and, for example, Mombasa is like Nairobi is very fast-paced, and I'll go in around lifestyle, but Nairobi is more fast-paced, while the coast is more laid back just because of their culture. But again, there are very many opportunities when we talk about that. The third region you really need to look at is really the Mount Kenya region, which is basically north of Nairobi. It's really the food basket of Kenya. And we have a great business community where you can actually have partnerships, because a lot of people in this Mount Kenya region are farmers, they are traders, it's historically who they've been. So when you're thinking about doing business in Kenya, you really want to look at this Mount Kenya region. A lot of cash crops happen, produced there, the coffee, the tea, there's so much that happens there. But besides the Mount Kenya region, the other food basket we see is the Rift Valley, which there is actually a new city that was Nakuru. Nakuru has made a new city, I think 2 months ago, or about a month ago. Again, that is really great for you to be aware about that, because you want to do business in the cities, but also in the rural areas. But in the cities, again, Nairobi, Mombasa, there are many cities in the Mount, there are many great places in Mount Kenya, but in Rift Valley, you want to look at Nakuru. It's a food basket, and there's a lot of tourism because it's known to be the cradle of mankind. There's so much there. There are so many lakes, there's so many mountains. There's so much that happens in the what I call the Great Rift Valley. So if you're thinking about doing business in something that is already set up and ready for you to do business, that has the right structures, the right entrepreneurship mindset, you want to think about the Rift Valley. And then the fifth region you want to look at is really the Lake region. And when we're thinking about the Lake region, you want to think about Kisumu. And this is very important and very strategic, because they're really big on the blue economy. They're really big on fishery. They're actually the link of what I call the Great East Africa, because it's by the Lake Victoria, which is the source of the Nile. So when you're thinking about doing business in Kenya, you have to look at opportunities in Kisumu that continuously grow in Nakuru, in Mount Kenya, Mombasa, and Nairobi. And I'll go into specific industries in just a moment. But as I mentioned earlier, us in Kenya, Kenya is a country of 15 million, right? But as I always say in business, you want to look at the bigger picture. So Kenya is 50 million, but we are part of the East Africa community. And Kenya is considered East Africa's powerhouse. Maybe I'm Kenyan and I'm a little bit biased, but that's really what is known in the area, because we are really the economic and commercial hub of this particular region. So the East Africa community is a custom union. It consists of 6 countries, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, and South Sudan. And soon we'll be including the DRC, which will become the 7th member. And as I earlier mentioned, it's going to have a population of 280 million and soon more than 300 million. So that is a great thing for you to consider when you're looking to do business in Kenya. And of course, it's home, East Africa is home of the 5 most growing economies. And Kenya is very important in this region because it's the most advanced country. Our advancement is in the service industry, it's in the transport and logistics, like I mentioned, in Mombasa, Lamu, in our role in our air. We have Kenya Airways, which is the pride of Africa. We have great education, we have great healthcare compared to the other countries in the region. So we see a lot of people in the region coming to Kenya to get healthcare services, and agribusiness is really big, especially the value addition. So you might get produce from other East African countries, and then they come into Kenya for value addition. So that is why you want to pay attention, not only to Kenya domestically, but East Africa as a whole. Now, the hot opportunities, business people who are looking to do business in Kenya. Yes, can you still see the flow or not really?
The slides have been moving.
Okay, I'm not too sure why that is. Let me try it one more time.
When you're changing slides, that now looks different. So that's a good sign. You may want to just let know when you're switching, just so we can confirm next time.
Okay.
We were on slide 4 there. Let's see. This one is this looks like a cool one.
Yes, so this was the next slide I was talking about, which is the hot business opportunities.
Did you have a slide that showed the map that showed the 5 regions that you talked through?
Okay, so I just talked about the East Africa community. Okay, and before that was the economic hubs. So basically you did not see the economic hubs, the names or anything like that?
Right, we did not.
Did you see that? Nairobi, the coast?
No, that's a very helpful slide. We did not see that.
Okay, let me see if it will change, because I'm seeing the problem. Okay, so you see that slide that says the Kenya economic hubs, the 5 of them, right?
The doing business in Kenya, 5 hubs, Nairobi, the coast, Mount Kenya, the Rift Valley, okay, and the Lake region. Got it.
Okay, good. And then do you see the other slide that talks about East Africa business overview? Can you see that?
No, cannot see that.
I'm not sure why I'm having problems with that. Would you prefer if can you see that where it says East African business overview?
Yep, and the slide looks different. It looks like a real slide, so that's a good sign.
Okay. When I do that, sorry. So would you prefer if oh, but that would mean I would have to email you the slides. Let me see if this will work. If maybe if I don't put it full screen, can you see where it says hot business opportunities?
Yep, with the graphic filter.
Okay, let me see. Okay, maybe that would work better.
That looks better. That looks different. Try going ahead or behind and see if it changes.
Okay, so.
Oh,
Okay.
it changed. Yep.
So let me go. It changed? Okay. We'll
changed.
leave it at that. Okay. All
Beautiful.
right. Great. I'm also a visual person, so I like to see. That's why I do presentations. So I'll go real quick into the hearts of business opportunities. I just wanted to highlight, if you're looking to do business in Kenya, we've seen a lot of foreign direct investment coming in, especially in financial services, renewable energy, trade, manufacturing, telecommunication, and education sector. But we also have our Kenyan diaspora, African diaspora, who are very interested in the real estate investments. So, so I just wanted to highlight that. But before we go into the 8 industries that I wanted to showcase that I think are the hot business opportunities, I do want to make everybody aware that if you're going to do business in Kenya, you want to be aware about what's going on and the agenda behind that. So we have what we call the Vision 2030. And the Vision 2030 is making sure, or is a government initiative to make sure that Kenya is a middle-class economy by the year 2030. And so under our economic pillars, we are trade and investment and business live. They're really big on, you know, agriculture, rural development, business outsourcing, process outsourcing, financial services, infrastructure, manufacturing, oil, tourism, trade, land reforms. So that will then give you an idea of what to look into. And like I said, I will be sharing a slide about the 8 industries I think we need to focus on. The other thing, in this time, the Kenyan government has focused on what we call the Big 4 agenda, which means even as we look at agriculture, the focus is on food security, right? one, for food security for the domestic consumer, and then be able to export the food crops. Also, in regards to real estate, it's not real estate as usual. They're really focusing on affordable housing. So if you can be able to go into affordable housing, mass housing for the populace, that is again something that is a main focus and the opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity under healthcare. And so the government is really pushing for idea of universal healthcare. And then the big thing also is around manufacturing, because again, we are going to be an industrialized nation, as we also are thinking about the fourth industrial revolution. So again, manufacturing is very important. As a person looking to do business in Kenya, you really need to be aware about what are called export processing zones. So you can actually set up base in these export processing zones and be able to get very, very many benefits, tax benefits, moratorium, so many things that will enable you to actually do business. So you want to establish your factory or business in these export processing zones. You also have special economic zones. And again, all this information is given to any investor looking to do business in Kenya. And then we at Regal Africa help you walk through that journey so that you make sure you're taking up the right opportunities. Because of time, I'll focus a bit on this so that, again, as a business person, you have to ask yourself, where should I focus my energy on, right? So like I mentioned, 8 key things. Agribusiness, we're looking at productivity and value addition. When you look at productivity, the thing about doing business in Kenya, most of the people in agriculture are really smallholder farmers. So if you're looking to invest in Kenya, you really need to think different. You really need to think about commercial agriculture. You need to look at large-scale farming. You really need to look at structuring your agriculture in a way that you will be able to get market at the end of it, because we have really great arable land. So you really need to look at productivity. You need to look at value addition. When we're looking at that in Kenya, we're looking at things like coffee. We're right now having a client who's looking to get into the Southeast Asia market with coffee. The US is big with coffee. Tea is really big. Flowers, people don't know, but the flowers in Netherlands, majority are from Kenya, from Rift Valley, Naivasha, from the Mount Kenya region. Avocados are big, we're even exporting them to China. So when you're really thinking about opportunity, you want to look at both productivity, but from a commercial way, and then the value addition of this agricultural produce or commodities. The second one is really around manufacturing. And when you're talking about manufacturing, we in Kenya have what we call jua kali, or cottage industry, very small. So you want to come in and support these businesses to scale up. That is the opportunity that we have. Again, we have challenges around energy. So if you're looking to invest, you want to look into renewable low-cost energy like solar. I have biomass. We have so many factories that want to change energy from the usual energy they get from Kenya Power to actually more affordable, sustainable energy. So the opportunity is, how do you be part of these factories or set up factories where they'll access this energy? And again, value addition of agricultural goods and manufacturing of medical supplies. That has become really big. We actually have in Kenyan companies exporting PPEs, syringes, just everything that is in the healthcare industry. And that has been brought about because of COVID. The other thing you want to look at is real estate. Again, I mentioned earlier, the government is really big on affordable housing, but the opportunity my clients and I have seen are also in healthcare. So you want to move away from Nairobi, go out into the other parts of Kenya, build hospitals, build hotels, build private schools. So when you're thinking about real estate, you want to think outside just residential. You want to think about also commercial real estate, but very specific to the authorization of those real estate. You also want to look at financial services. You want to invest in fintech. It's really big, especially lending, payments, and the future is really around saving and investing, that is what you want to do. You want to look into those opportunities. And another opportunity we've seen is really around alternative investment management. So instead of just buying shares, buying fixed income, money markets, we are telling a lot of foreign investors and the diaspora to invest in agribusiness, in business lending, in real estate funds. So that is something we think is a really good opportunity for you to do. Since you're not on the ground, you can invest and make good return on investment that way. Tourism is big. The big thing we've been seeing about the magical Kenya experience. We have someone like Richard Branson, who has a very interesting place called Mahali Mazuri, and he actually won award for that. So we're seeing people coming up with very unique experiences in tourism. The MICE industry is growing. Our biggest convention center, I would say, is KICC, or Kenyatta International Convention Center, and you can see it in my background there, the tall building. But now there's opportunity to actually invest in more convention center as the MICE industry grows in Kenya and in the East Africa community. Earlier we were talking with Cesar, he was talking about his friend came to Kenya but actually went around East Africa. That's another thing with tourism. We're really building the East Africa tourism circuit, so you want to look into that. Healthcare is very important. You want to look at the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, medical equipment, because we import a lot of that. That is the opportunity in Kenya, and we see many things changing, especially in the last 2 years. When we talk about infrastructure, again, we can't do trade without infrastructure, right? So you're seeing new projects like the LAPSET project, which take in rail, which take in roads, ports, the Lamu port, air, energy. So if you want to get a good return on investment, you want to think about infrastructure projects. And last but not least is really around ICT and digital trade. Again, hot business opportunities. Everyone is trading online. Building of great e-commerce platforms is big. Payments, anything that goes around digital trade, from logistics to payments to the platforms. That is where you want to put your money so that you can get a good return investment, or you want to put your product in this e-commerce site so that you can then be able to make money, because that's what you want to be aware of. These are the trends, these are the industries that you want to look at when you're thinking about doing business in Kenya. Now, when you look at cultural and lifestyle issues, I do have to say that, of course, there are great opportunities in Kenya, but whenever you go into any country, a foreign country, you really need to understand the risks and return. Unfortunately, the picture of Kenya and Africa has been painted as very risky, and it's really not, right? And you can mitigate those risks. So it's really saying, how do I understand these risks, and how do I make sure that I get a huge return on investments? And so when you're looking to do business in Kenya, you really need to be aware that you need to be patient. It's not like the West. So systems are not fully there, although it's getting better, but you need to be patient. And you need to be patient not only with the system, but also who you're doing business with. Because when you're doing business in Kenya, building relationships, building trust is key. It's not about transactional business, it's about relationship business. So that is something that you need to be very familiar with Kenya. And so you probably want to have a local partner who understands the culture and able to show you where the opportunities is and how to maneuver everything, whether it's with government or with the public sector, if you're going into retail, private sector, if you're going into retail. So you need to be aware about that. The other thing you need to be aware of is we are a very informal economy. So most businesses are informal. Most business are MSMEs, so they're very, very small. So if you're looking to invest or do business, they're very small. So it's again about being patient and building capacity. And that's how you as an investor come in, bring in, don't just bring in money, but become a strategic investor so that you bring your networks, your expertise, understanding of how to create boards. All that is very, very important. Business relationship I mentioned was also very important. And when you're doing business in Kenya, you need to be aware that the Kenyan local, the Kenyan consumer is very price conscious. So it's all about price and not necessarily quality, right? If you're looking to go into the mass market. So people are very price conscious. So you have to be aware about your price and how you position yourself in the market. The other thing that you need to be aware of when you're doing business in Kenya is we have what we call copycat businesses. For example, if you decide you're going to go and start factory where you put ketchup, you have tomatoes and you see that you want to produce ketchup. Do not be surprised if 2 months down the line, there are 5 factories next to you doing the same exact business. That's just how Kenya is. So you need to be aware about that and make sure that you're always ahead of the game, or at least you're merging or acquiring your competitors. You have to also be very aware about urban versus rural consumption. The urban consumer loves to consume. As long as they have money, they'll consume, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. So if anything happens to disrupt the economy, like what happened with COVID or when there's politics, their consumption goes down. Not because they don't want to, it's because they don't have the money. But once they have money in their hands, they'll consume, which is very consumption, which is not really all about consumption. Very different. And be aware that if you're going to do business in Kenya and you're targeting the Kenyan consumer, most of them are just focused on basic needs, but there's a small niche group of people who are very interested in luxury goods, but it's not that big. So mostly you want to think about basic needs, unless you're looking to do business or provide goods and services for export, and then you have to think of it differently. I wanted to also spend some time, and we're almost ending here before I answer any questions, why you should do business in Kenya. I've painted a picture, the opportunity, the background around Kenya. And for sure, there are great opportunities in trade and investments. But before you go into business, you want to make sure you do market research. I don't know. I see very many businesses that go into business don't do that. You want to do that. You want to make sure you have market entry strategies. You want to make sure you have a financial or strategy advisor to help you. And that's what we do at Regal Africa. And so what we do at Regal Africa is make sure that you're a trusted and local partner so that you can access not only Kenya, but the East African market. And of course, because of the fact that we're in the digital economy, you can always engage with us and our partners both virtually and in person. And so with that, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. Let's go global. There is market, there is business outside the country that you are. And that's why it's very important to become a member of the Global Chamber, because then you can get information like this, you'll be able to get networks so that you can actually sell your goods and services to the rest of the world. And if you ever are coming to Kenya or East Africa and you need support or a local trusted partner, reach out to us at info@regalafrica.co.ke. We will be glad to assist you with that. So the opportunities are endless, but you need to also have the right person working with you. So with that, I will say thank you again, Doug, for the opportunity to share what it takes to do business in Kenya. Yes, Kenya is a bit different from the rest of the world. Sometimes you say we're peculiar Kenyans, but we want to do business. At the bottom line, people want to do business and there's money to be made in Kenya. So thank you very much. And I'm ready to answer any questions that you may have.
That sounds good. I have some questions, but I'm going to turn it over to the audience to add any questions from the audience, and just raise your hand or please just unmute yourself and go ahead. Don't be shy. And while we're waiting for people to ask a question, I have a couple. You mentioned about Vision 2030, which it sounds like it's a government initiative. I'm wondering, could you dig a little bit deeper into that and maybe also align it with AFCFTA? I presume part of that vision is an integrated Africa and maybe strategic partnerships with other countries. Is there thoughts around creating a mega region between Kenya and others? And then finally, how is Kenya positioning itself versus some of the other key competitor countries, maybe like Ghana or Nigeria, where companies coming into the continent might be thinking about locating offices or locating investment in different places? I presume as part of that plan, there's a positioning as well as a collaboration. Could you maybe articulate on both sides of that?
Okay, sure. So yes, the Vision 2030 is a government initiative. It's been there since, I think, 2008, right? And the idea was by 2030 become a middle income country, right? So that's the vision. And so they continue supporting the business community. So there's a political pillar, social pillar, but of course, when we talk about business, we focus on the economic pillar. That is why the government is saying, look, we are positioning ourselves. Agribusiness is very important. Financial services. So there's effort to make sure that Nairobi is an international financial center. So you see the flow of capital passing through Nairobi to go to other countries in the region. If it's agriculture, we're saying this is what we are doing. We have coffee in Kenya, we have coffee in Uganda, coffee in Rwanda. But you know what? We can build an East African brand and we have processing in Kenya so that it goes to the rest of the world. So again, each of these particular industries have been identified. If it's infrastructure, they've said, it was very deliberate to say, the Mombasa port, which has been there for forever, was built to capacity. So part of Vision 2030 was to come up with the LAPSET project. And LAPSET means Lamu, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. And there are even ideas of it going all the way to Central and West Africa. So when we talk about AFCFTA, we're saying, look, in order for us to build sort of this rail, road, air, infrastructure, connectivity, it has to start from a region. So it starts from a country, Kenya, into East Africa, and then to the bigger Africa. And that is how we're going to be able to transport goods from Kenya to the rest of Africa. Or in this case, we're getting goods from Asia. It comes through the ports in Mombasa and Lamu or Dar es Salaam, and then it goes into the rest of Africa. The same thing would happen in the other way of West Africa, where there are ports which are being built that will then come from, Latin America, US, Canada, and come in through this links in transport. So there's a lot that is being done there. So Vision 2030 is very specific to Kenya, but it looks at the bigger picture of the East Africa community, and it also looks at AFCFTA in the opportunities that come. And that's why I say anyone who is doing business needs to think not only now, but needs to think about the future. Because in Africa, we keep saying the Africa we want. And so there's effort to make sure that the Africa we want happens and is done step by step from country to region to continent. Yeah.
Okay. You touched on finance and financing, and that's one of the questions in the chat area. What about financing? And you actually said, that Kenya is funding investment in other countries as well. And so does that mean that investment flow is fairly strong and available for projects?
There is a lot of money for funding.
Okay.
The challenge we have, which I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of businesses in Kenya are informal. A lot of businesses in Kenya are small. They are micro, small, medium enterprises. So even though there is a wash of money, both foreign money and local money, a lot of these businesses are considered quite risky, right? So now that is what I was saying. There are two opportunities. One, some investors have actually said, look, because a lot of these businesses cannot go to the commercial banks, which are very conservative, what we are going to do is we are going to go into the fintech world, and we are going to be able to give them unsecured loans but have considerably higher interest rates. So a lot of foreign investors and the diaspora have made a lot of money that way. But it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really help our business community because the cost of capital is very high. So what we've been doing at Regal Africa, I mentioned earlier, we have what we call global office where we do accounting outsourcing. So what we're trying to do is de-risk these MSMEs and tell them, look, keep your books so that the funder can understand your ability to repay or the ability for your business to scale up. Second, we're talking to them about saving and investing so that they can get enough collateral so that they can get the financing that they need. But at the same time, we're talking to the investment community or the investment ecosystem and talking about cash flow based funding, right? So for example, if somebody does business online through a digital platform like Jumia or Anzili or Msoko, you can actually see the flow of business happening. So in the future, you're going to see that you will see a lot more businesses being funded because it shows they're actually doing business. The problem of the funding ecosystem in Kenya is, again, the data. Can you actually lend to these MSMEs? Will they pay you back? They're considered quite risky. So that is the future. So the opportunity is that you create platforms, e-commerce platforms, so that then there is a link to lending, just as it's done with Alibaba in China, right? So they have Alibaba and Ant Finance. So they finance their merchants. So that's the future that we're going to see in Kenya and Africa in totality. So we get away from this collateral-based funding. There's a lot of work which is being done that, and we are very interested in that space. Personally, I'm very interested in fintech and investing into our business community.
That sounds
but there's
great.
a lot of money. It's just where does it go? And then there's also money to go into large projects. Again, but then patience. If you're gonna deal with government in Kenya or in Africa, patience is what you need.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I see Lokesh has a question. Okay.
I do see some questions in the audience. I see Lokesh, I see Richard, I see Derek, I see others. Lokesh, did you have a question?
Hi, Doug. Hi, Annie. How are you?
Good.
I'm a little under the rough weather today, so I'm actually logged in from the mobile phone and relaxing on my recliner. So I have a proposition, not a question, in which Doug already knows that we are a partner institution in India, and we have a hosted buyer program. We have a couple of services to be offered to Global Chamber members. So we offer that also to Kenyan businesses.
Mm-hmm.
In the hosted buyer program, we actually host the importers or wholesalers or retailers who are looking at India to buy. I remember Kenya was one of my first country where I actually exported some tourism shop ornaments, like a lot of boxes with brass and enameled shapes, elephant actually. So, and I do know that a lot of textile and other product also goes from India to Kenya because of the tourist as a market.
Yeah.
So if you have retailers, wholesalers or importers who are looking at India to buy, under this hosted buyer program, we incentivize their travel by 50%. So they just have to arrive in India at their cost, and the entire 7-day trip, which is 5 days of business trip to factories, shop, market, wholesale, and 2 days of their tourism, is on the federation cost. That is complimentary to all your global chamber members. So if you have some retailers, wholesalers in Kenya or other countries around you, but they're not global chamber members, so that becomes one of the tools for global chamber also to increase the membership, that we can offer you as partners association this opportunity of having this incentive by the Federation of Buying Agents.
Okay.
That is one
Okay.
service.
Thank you for that offer.
Yeah. And second is the payment recovery and disputes which are ongoing, and we are very strong in those 76 plus countries with a legal representative. Again, as Global Chamber are our partner, we have extended this facility to all the Global Chamber members. So even if they are not members, but you get to know of any payment issues internationally, whether they are partners from Kenya, some payments are stuck there, or some of the Kenyan partners' payment is stuck anywhere in the world. You can reach out to us and keeping Global Chambers in copy, and we can always help you with the legal recourse of getting a recovery at no cost. So the client only pays when the recovery is done. So there is no legal upfront cost to be paid unless we have that recovery done for the client. So these two are very strong services which we have offered to Global Chambers as partners.
Two great offers. And any reaction, Anne, to either of them, particularly the first one? Is there a fair number of Kenyans who are purchasing products out of India? And would an offer like that, where they could get basically a free trip to scout sourcing, could that be of interest?
Yes, from my experience,
sorry to. So is this a question to me, Doug, or?
No, it's to Anne. Sorry.
Okay. I was saying from my experience, we do a lot of business with India. We import a lot from India. We have a lot of history with India, Kenyan Indians. And in fact, we have a huge business community of people of Indian descent in Kenya. So there is already, or has been in the recent past, a lot of trade that happens between India and Kenya and the greater East Africa region. So something like that would be great. I think I have seen other Chamber of Commerce's put together trade missions so that they are able to say, look, you can go to India, this is the subsidized rate, this is the area you're going to go, this is what it is. And then people interested can be able to do that. So maybe Lokesh, that is something that you can actually work with the team in Kenya or in the greater East Africa to put that together. I do have to say it's also what we are pushing is for mutual beneficial trade. So not only should we be importing from India, but also India should be importing from us. So we need to be able to export to India. So it would also be great for us to know what is it that India lacks, and then we can be able to export. Because, for example, I'm part of African Women Entrepreneurship Program. So we would have sometimes bring the women to put together these green grants and export it to India. So again, if we would get more opportunities like that in the chamber, in the global chamber, where you tell us, look, there's an opportunity for us to be able to buy these goods from Kenya, that would be great, because that will encourage more people to be part of this chamber, to be members, because they know that they will get business. So that is something that I think would be great to put together, so that they sort of like a trade mission to India, but also a trade mission into Kenya. We always have very many expos of Indian products coming into Kenya. Of course, because of COVID, there've been less physical exhibitions, but I believe that's going to change soon. But maybe Lokesh, what you want to think about is beyond just physical exhibitions. Maybe you want to start thinking about virtual exhibition. That's something that I did at the Africa Trade Conference back in November.
We do that B2B virtual.
Yeah, so we're pushing that idea of saying, look, if you can't come in person, can you at least view these things virtually? Then samples are sent, because we still need to do business with or without COVID. We have to find a way to do business with each other. So yes, I think there is an opportunity there around the services that you're offering, and it's a great initiative where you're saying, come to India and we'll work with you and we'll show you how things are done. And I believe anyone interested in that market would take that up. The second one about payment issues and around that not happening, Usually I know there's always, the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, and there's always arbitration or depending on the contract. So I don't know what you do differently in regards to payment issues. It would be great for you to clarify that so that then the audience can know what exactly do you do if someone doesn't pay.
We are not doing any ICC work. It's all done at the legal side. The legal lawyer is hired in the respective countries where the payment is stuck, and we most likely will bypass the court because that's not the solution a lot of people want. It's a lengthy issue. But if your case is strong and that assessment is done prior to taking up the case, then the lawyer is not charging any fee for whatever legal representation they're doing on behalf of the client. We have done it successfully in the last 2 years. Around 55 cases across the world, we have got recoveries done for our clients.
Okay.
I will not say that it's 100% recovery, but yes, if your case is as strong as possible, up to an extent of 80% we already got. 60 to 80% money is already got without even going to the court, and within 8 to 12 weeks of the case getting in our hand.
But thank you for sharing. Okay. We'll include that information
Doug,
in the blog post. And
Doug, sorry, sorry, Doug. I just saw something on the chat that I thought to bring up with Lokesh before he leaves. It looks like there is some work that has been done to really push the Kenyan avocado, and really it looks like India is supposed to start importing Kenyan avocados. We have someone from Radia Agro Farm who does that.
Doug, I'll be happy to host the Kenyan India virtual summit sort of thing at the Global Chamber. Maybe 4 weeks or 5 weeks from now. Let's do aggressive marketing of this Kenyan India summit under the Global Chamber India chapter, or India Kenya together under the Global Chapter. And let's create some awareness and vibe about business between India and Kenya, not only exporting, but both sides.
Okay, great, because I see somebody else also wants to export to the US. So Doug, there's work to be done.
Oh, that sounds good. We're just about at the end of the hour, so we want to try to kind of wrap things up. I was hoping to hear from a couple folks, and Derek, are you there? And I see Larry as well. Are either of you available? Larry is in the hospitality area, and I know you know him, Ann. Do either of you have any comments before Ann wraps up the session? We have a lot.
Doug, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Larry. Good to see you.
Hi. Good to see you too.
I wanted to call on you because the hospitality industry is so critically important, and curious to see how you see that coming back, and love to hear your thoughts as well.
The hospitality industry is usually very robust.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that as soon as things clear up, it will be one of the fastest to recover, more than any other industry. Probably because we are light, and over the years, because of the many challenges we've faced, maybe with terrorism and all other challenges included, we have managed to find a way to bounce back pretty quickly. The downtime can be a little bit longer, but the recovery process is actually very fast, and that's something that we focus on a lot. So I think in the travel industry or the hospitality sector, people are very nimble. And because of the challenges that we've had ever since we started encountering terrorism and all sorts of manner of tragedies that happen, like in Tonga, the sad tragedy of the volcano, somehow the hospitality industry has managed to understand how to work nimbly, thinly, and we've become better doing it. So I think with this COVID experience, people have just become better at how they can do business and how they can be able to focus without particularly getting into many problems that they're there. So for me, I believe it is just a matter of time that things will happen. And it all depends on how we will be able to connect globally. I'm very interested with the offer that Lokesh has given out. And my question is, does that extend to tourism, to people who want to make connections with travel agents in India? And how can we work together? That's one of the things that we all think about in travel. How can we interconnect? Because travel is global. It is no longer something that can be considered local. It is a global industry. People want to travel. People want to experience different things. And especially with the long downtime that people have had with COVID, people will want to travel even more now because they want to live their lives to the fullest, unlike before where they were a bit conservative.
So Larry, let's connect over the email since time is too short for us today, and I will be able to really help you with the travel industry in India as well.
Excellent, excellent. I appreciate it, Lokesh.
Thank you for sharing. Anne, did you have any comments about Larry's comments?
Yes, I think I do have to say with Larry, I'm also very optimistic about tourism, and I've been pushing that. As you can see, I started off with just trade and investments because I'm a banker by profession, so my connection is always access to finance, access to markets, but I recognize that people do business with where they're familiar with, where they trust. So the idea is to get more people to come to the African continent, to get people to come to Kenya so that people can do business. So we are going to see not only leisure business and ecotourism, but we're going to start seeing a lot more of business tourism happening. And when you see a lot of business tourism happening, then, as I always do when I travel around the world, after I finish my business, after I go for that conference, I get to see the rest of the country. It's a good excuse for me to travel to other parts of the country. So I'm very optimistic about tourism. It's going through a hard time, but I mean, we're going to have to live with COVID, so the opportunity is there. The challenge, though, with the tourism industry is we have to redo a few things. I've actually talked about trade and tourism, digitalization. So, for example, I mentioned earlier about KenyanBooking.com. If I want to travel, the first thing I do is Google, right? So the first sort of online travel platforms are all these global platforms. So Larry, what are you doing to make sure those platforms are Kenyan or African platforms? So if someone wants to come to Kenya, they go through that instead of going through Expedia, right? That is going to be the challenge of the travel industry. I think so. And then making sure that you have very interesting experience, because I think people are gonna say, look, I've been locked for too long. I want to travel, but I want to do it safely. So there's a lot of opportunity in tourism, and it's just a matter of time. But we need to encourage people to tell them, yes, you might get an advisory from the US government, the UK government, or whatever government tell you not to come to Kenya, but Kenya is safe. Kenya is safe. You just need to be on the lookout, just like when you travel in any other country. So we need to start changing the narrative and telling people that come to Kenya, come to Africa. So we need to tell our story, then paint a pretty picture. And then people will come here and we'll do business with them.
What I sense is a lot of optimism from you and a belief that, you know, the future looks bright. It sounds like you're feeling like COVID may be in our back mirror very soon, and you're optimistic about the future. Is that the case?
I'm very optimistic. Larry, go ahead.
Obviously, we're very optimistic. I mean, reports are that in South Africa, for example, Omicron has peaked, and we've got good reports that they are back in business. I was watching a program in Deutsche Welle where they were talking about how business is slowly coming back to life. And hopefully Omicron, even as the scientists have said, is not as intensive as Delta. It will be the last that we will see. But I think obviously the pandemics are a learning process. We will have future pandemics in future. It's just how we manage them. I wanted to answer something to Anne concerning how we will specialize and how we will be able to win over the global booking platforms. I think there is what we call niche traveling, specialized traveling. And at the end of the day, it is how people approach clients. I think today, more than ever, clients want personalized travel. They want details. They want to know where they're going. They want to really know the experiences they can experience in a destination. So for some of us, what we do is we specialize in that. We specialize in being able to sell a destination, a product, we have the knowledge that they need, we are able to give the clients the experiences they need and work according to what they want. Because in a global system, you can only go so far. You know, you can only offer the hotel stay, the safari, but you can't be able to go offbeat, go off the track, offer some of the extensive things like do inter-transport, because everything is worked upon costs and costs and costs. We are able to work better because we are smaller and we have that niche that we are working on. And that's where we are specializing on, so that we are able to offer something unique that is different from what is common out there.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Love your optimism. It's very infectious in a good way. And I think we do need to wrap things up. And so I'm wondering if you could make some final comments, and then we'll move on and close the room.
I do see two things that were put there. I see Derek Benga had a question, and Richard, and then maybe I can just give my last remarks. So I see
okay.
Derek asked, what are your thoughts, Anne, on the impact? What are your thoughts, Anne, on the impact of the Kenyan election on the business climate? Kenya elections.
Be careful now.
There'll definitely be a slowdown, right? Because it's just something about politics that we don't know. And especially now that the president, the current president is not running, or the current administration. So it's a new group of leaders who will be coming in and we do not know. So it's very contentious. So I think people will continuously be cautious. But also when I have talked to different business people and consumers, I think we've been in this space of caution. Business have been affected. Like, we can't let something like politics affect us anymore. So there might be a caution, but I think people are still looking for opportunity. And what we've been doing at Regal Africa is to say, look, even though there might not be business in the country because of elections, we are continuously encouraging our business community to do business outside the country, to cross-border globally, because even if there's no flow of money locally because of elections, I can still be doing business in the US and getting my dollars, whether there's politics going on or not, as long as I'm able to control my supply chain, right? Or I can offer my service. So as long as people look outwards for business, then politics should not affect it. Although I do have to say, with my business back in 2017, when we had a snafu in our elections and it was annulled, and we had to do a repeat election, I was affected negatively by my clients who who felt like, look, this is something new. It's a presidential election has been annulled. I mean, they were not sure about the future, so they pulled out. So there's always going to be some kind of element of risk when you're doing international trade, even during a political session like we're having in 2022. But my advice for everybody, have a percentage of your portfolio of business outside the country. So even if business is affected in Kenya, you're still making money. And that's how you navigate this politics. So I hope I answered you, Derek. And then there was a question from Richard around, what's your thought on the gender gap in access to trade finance, ease of doing business, especially for women in Kenya? And it's a gentleman called Richard Gaitha. This is something I've worked on a lot. In fact, I'm the past executive director of OWIT, which is Organization Women International Trade. I keep saying, and what I've learned, trade knows no gender, right? Business is business. But unfortunately, women are affected differently, especially when they come to access to finance. But when it comes to trade finance, we have been working with very many different organizations that offer trade finance. And what they're looking for is sometimes not necessarily collateral, which is what women lack, but they're able to actually offer finance based on the contracts with the different countries, with certain steps to make sure payment is done. Again, that is the education that we're giving to the women in Kenya and in Africa to say, look, there is a gender gap in the past, but in the future, you just need to get that information. You need to pay the consultant or the advisor who will help you access this finance. If you don't have the information, go to someone who does. And the key here then is to make sure you have access to markets. If you have market, if you have contract, then getting the finance becomes easier, all right? So we are narrowing that gender gap in regards to access to finance, especially trade finance. Collateral should not be an issue, and the alternative ways of getting funding. You don't necessarily have to go to your commercial bank. You have to think of alternatives, and that's where companies like Regal Africa come in to advise our clients for a fee. Thank you. All right, Doug, over to you.
That sounds good, and you know, we've gone over a few minutes, and so if you don't mind, let me just ask one more kind of a dual-headed question, and then we'll wrap it up. Because with that question about gender, what I was thinking was what is the place of women in business in Kenya relative to our expectations in other countries? And could you also talk about corruption? How is corruption within the country of Kenya versus other places that we might work?
Okay, let me start off with gender. So gender, if you look at a lot of the women, a lot of the MSMEs, they're run by women or the youth, right? So we see a lot of women in business, but we see them in small businesses, right? And we see them in cross-border trade, informal trade. What we're seeing and what I'm hoping to do over time is to change the mindset in regards to women themselves, and also people who do business with women, in saying women don't have to do small business, okay? Women can do global business, because I have actually gotten my clients into places like Walmart, a woman. So it can be done. So change that mindset from informal, cross-border, small businesses to saying there's a place for small businesses, but there are women who can take things globally. So that to me is the first thing. The women themselves, but also the people who want to do business. When people approach women in business in Kenya, they want to do things differently than the way they would approach a man, right? They want them to, so you also have to respect women in regards to them doing business. The second thing that we continuously see in Kenya is the rise of the Kenyan woman or the African woman into positions of leadership. What I've noticed, because I'm part of different organizations in trade globally, and we are seeing the women who are doing trade policy are women, the trade lawyers are women, the economists are women, the people who are dealing with development, they are women. And if we have more women in that position, then we are going to see the right policies or the right environments put in place that will encourage more women to do business in Kenya and globally. And so the face of the African woman is changing. In fact, someone has reminded me, the CS of trade in Kenya is a woman. The Director General of the World Trade Organization is a woman. So you're gonna see more women in this trade space, and that is great. So we're gonna have the practitioners, we're gonna have the academics, we're gonna have the government officials and people in this trade space. And I believe with that happening, we're gonna see more women in trade, and the environment will be more conducive for more women to do great things. So that's my thought around that. When it comes to corruption, yes, there's a lot of corruption that happens in Kenya. And let me do a disclaimer. There's corruption everywhere. There's corruption everywhere. Maybe it's a little bit more in development countries. There's corruption in India. There's corruption in the US. There's corruption in Europe. There's corruption everywhere. But it is something that needs to be taken care of, because it affects business. It affects business in a negative way. So government can say what they can say, they'll do their part, but it comes down to the individual. It comes down to the business community. And people saying zero tolerance to corruption. We're doing business the right way, there's transparency, there's integrity in how we do business. And so I also encourage people, when you're doing business in Kenya, in Africa, do business with trusted professionals, trusted business people. Don't agree to do corruption. Don't agree to do bribes, because if you agree, then perpetually that culture continues. So just do business the right way, as you would do wherever you are in the world. And I think that transforms business in totality. Yeah.
That makes sense. Your background is you've lived in other countries, right? I think you actually lived in the US. You've done trade in different parts of the world. So you've been a champion for Kenya. You've certainly been a champion for Kenya today. So thank you so much for sharing more of that. I love your optimism. And at the end of the day, your capability and your professionalism carry the day. And for anybody that's looking to grow in Kenya, first stop, Global Chamber Nairobi and Regal Africa group with Anne will get you started in the right track. Thank you, Anne, for everything. Is there anything that you wanted to say kind of in wrap up?
You said it all, and I think I've covered it. We at Regal Africa are all about trade and investments, tourism. We believe that creating wealth requires trade. Trade creates wealth. We need to do business. And we think the opportunity is there for everybody, for Africans around the world, friends of Africa. The opportunity, the last mile is in Africa. So let's do this. Let's do it right. And it will transform communities. It will transform the different nations of Africa. And so for me, I'm very, very optimistic that we will continuously move from the aid mentality to the trade mentality, and we'll see development on this continent. So I'm very optimistic. And don't leave the women and the youth behind. Men, we need you as our allies. So, yes, do business with us. Buy our goods, buy our services. Yes, thank you.
We have your back. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for your time today. Thank you to the audience, both live here and also if you're watching this as a recording. Thank you. And if there's any information that you need, send an email to info@globalchamber.org and we'll do our best to help and support you. Thanks again, Anne, and everybody have a great rest of your day.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Annie. Bye, Jack.